Alright, so we're going to be learning about authentication and protected routes. When building an application, sometimes we need to protect some certain routes from users that are not logged in. Example, if you have an e-commerce application, the products page or the landing page might be publicly accessible without needing to log in. But however, the profile page or the order history should be protected, right? And React Router on its own does not come with protected routes. However, you can actually implement protected routing using the context API from React. So if we click on the profile, instead of going directly to the profile when we're not logged in, we should be redirected to the login. And when we click on, when we log in, we should be redirected back to the profile page. Oh, well, we did implement some sort of login with redirects, but that was a pseudo login. All right, there was no protected routes. Now, let's implement a full login page with protected routes. So the first thing you want to do is create a new profile component. All right, so that's what we're going to get started with. We're going to create a new profile component. Wow, we have a lot of components. Profile.jsx. All right, so we're gonna RAFCE. All right, so we got a profile component. All right, now let's bind this profile component to a route. Then we add the link. All right, so I'm gonna create a route for profile. Say route path / profile. Oh, that's a dot / profile and element. Passing this object with components. We're gonna import our profile components. Make sure it's actually imported above. You wanna close this off. Okay, so we've got a profile route. Let's add a link, a nav link. Okay. So this is the pseudo we did, all right, with is logged in, login, state. Okay, so we're gonna modify this entire login component. So let's get rid of this, is logged in, let's get rid of this. We won't be needing this currently. So let's just render the profile components now. Profile. Profile and the link. All right, so we got products, we got profile. All right, so now for the next step. So we've configured the routes. We can see that this route, when we go to the profile route, it is publicly accessible. And if the user isn't logged in, which like the user can still access the route if he's not logged in, which shouldn't be the case. So to do that, we need to simply maintain a user state variable and provide it to the entire component tree using React context. So we're going to create a new component. We're going to call it auth, Ctrl B. You know what? Let's create a folder for utils. Let's just try and get it a little organized. So we're going to say in our components folder, we're going to create a folder called utils. Usually it's in the utils anyways. So, and then we're going to say auth context. So auth component or auth.js. It's it doesn't matter. So now we're going to import something from React. So we're going to import the create context from React. All right. Next, we're going to assign a variable to create context and pass the initial value as null. Okay. So we're going to say const auth context. Const auth context is equals to create context. Then we've initialized it with the value of null. Okay. So now we have to define the auth provider component. So we're going to say export const auth provider our function. Okay. So now we got auth provider. So in our auth provider, within this component, we're going to maintain the user state and define the functions to log in and log out. So we're going to import UseState from React as well. So we're going to import UseState from React. And then inside here, we're going to create the state variable. So we're going to say const array equals to UseState. Then we're going to set this to null. Just going to UseState null. Nulls. Wow. Null. And then we're going to declare the variable first. So user variable. Then we're going to declare the function to set it. So for set user function. All right. So next we called the value of user. All right. And the function set user and the initial value is null. So now we use the functions to define the login and logout functions, right? So we're going to use this set user function to define the login and logout function. So the login function receives the user, and then we call set user and initialize it. So it receives an argument of user, and then we call the set user to initialize it with the user that it received. While the logout function does not have to receive any argument. So we'll just call set users and initialize it with null. All right, so let's implement that. So we're gonna be here. Let's give some space. Const login. All right, it's gonna take in a parameter of user, but you don't even have to wrap it. You just can go ahead and do this. All right, so we're gonna call set user function, and then this time it's gonna set user as user. All right. So now we're going to define our logout. So const logout equals to empty parameter, our function, our functions are cool, set user, and then initialize it with null. All right. So now we're going to provide these values using auth context.provider component. The component will wrap the children props. So we're going to return auth context. So return auth context, and then we're going to use the dot provider method. Okay, and then we're going to wrap this with children. Right. And we have to make sure we're getting this auth provider is actually receiving destructuring children. So we're going to destructure children from here. So we're going to destructure children. All right. And the provider component needs a value prop, which will be an object. This provider component needs a value prop. So we're going to pass a value prop. Okay. And I say user, login, logout. This is the value prop. Alright. So now finally we're going to define a function that returns the value of auth context. So we declare a function called useAuth that returns the hook useContext. And then we initialize it with auth context. Remember to import useContext hook when we're doing this. So declare a function outside the scope. So I say export const use auth. All right. Oh, pass an empty parameter. our function. Okay, so we're gonna return use context. Please make sure use context is actually imported here. All right, and then we're gonna initialize use context with auth context. Now that we have auth context provider, and we have to put it in our app.js, we should wrap the entire component tree with this auth provider. So now we've defined this auth provider, we've got this use auth. We need to wrap our entire component tree with auth provider. And in order to do that, we have to go to our app.js, and in this entire return statement, instead of this fragment, what we can do is auth provider. We gotta import it. Please make sure it's imported. Auth provider is imported from your component/utils auth file, and then we're gonna copy this. So instead of we're changing this fragment. Instead of this fragment, we're gonna wrap it with auth provider. So auth provider. So now we've provided auth to the entire component tree. So we now have access to user login and logout functions throughout our application. So we need to modify our login component, and this component needs to be able to accept username. So let me even check out the login components. Forgot what you did there. Login. Okay, so in our login, we got this button, and I believe it receives a prop, and we just receive a prop called on login and the login. All right, we need to make this cooler. This is not cool. We need to make it much cooler. So we're gonna go to login, Control B. We're gonna get rid of this handle login plate. Gonna get rid of on login. All right, so we're gonna create a much cooler thing than this. We're gonna notice the structuring. All right, so login. And okay, so we need to accept username. So we need inputs to accept username, and we also have to create a state. So we have to import useState. You know what? Let's do that first. Let's import useState. Import. Oh my God. Import useState. There we go. From React. All right, and then we need to create a new state variable. So here, login, we're gonna go const array equals to useState. All right, and then we're gonna pass in an empty string. That's because we'll be replacing this. So we're gonna say user set user, which equals to useState empty string. So this user variable and then this set user is a function, right? So now we tie the state to an input element. So we're gonna tie this state to an input element. We're gonna write the input element here. So input. Okay, see, this looks cool already. So input element, and you're gonna label this input element with usernames. Let's say username. Cool. All right. So this input element is type text. To assign it the type, we're gonna pass in the property of text of type text. All right. So username is an input element of type text. All right. So now we need to watch for changes in this. So we need to watch whenever our user is typing and watch for changes. All right. So in order to do that, we need to onChange. We need to call it the event listener called onChange. All right. We're going to pass in the events. We're going to use E to represent the event. We're going to say set user. So onChange the event, set user, passing E dot target dot value. Okay, so now we're watching for changes. Then on change, we will get a code of the event and call set user, passing in the event dot target value. Next, we have our login button, and on click this button would call the function handle login. I probably should have deleted handle login. So unclick event listener. Alright, we should call the function handle login. So let's define handle login, because currently handle login does not exist. So const handle login equals to our function. Okay. So let's define the handle login function. Now within the function, we need to call the login function from auth context. So outside of handle login, we have to call use auth, which will then be imported from the auth file. Then we're going to assign it a constant called auth. So we'll go const, const auth is equals to, we're going to call use auth now from our file. Now please make sure use auth is imported from the utils file. Right, and this is a function, so maintain null. Alright, so next we have to put use auth in our handle login function. So we're gonna say auth dot, now we're calling on the login method that we created, login user. So within the function handle login, we call auth the login and pass in the username. Okay, so once we set the username, we have to navigate the user to the home page using the use navigate hook. So import the hook from React Router DOM. So import use navigate, okay, from React Router DOM, and then within the component assign a variable to the use navigate function. So let's say const navigate is equals to use navigate, okay, initialized. All right, and then within handle login, navigate to root. So within handle login, after handle login is done, navigate to root. So navigate, call navigate, and then pass in the root route. Finally, add a login button in the nav bar, the login link in nav bar. So let's go to our app.js, main nav bar. You know what I want to do is create a new nav component, because this is getting chaotic. So new file, nav bar.jsx. Sorry, just a little detour. This was getting a little bit chaotic, the navs. Just cut this out. Import this. It's a form now blank. Import now blank for React Cloud. Okay. Okay. And I stop a bit, but I think so. I'm gonna say RFC. All right. So as of this, we have we got to render this not by air. Sorry for the detail, guys. Just wanted to make this a little bit less bulky. Okay, so we got our navbar, and now let's add in a login to this. Wow, the amount of links we made. So Ctrl+B.
This is going to be login. And the link to login. Okay. We have configured the login route, right? Okay, so configure the login route. This is the link to login, and click on this way and log in. Cool.
All right. Next is, so we need to set a condition that this login should be shown if the user is not logged in. It should be shown if the user is not logged in. So in order to do that, we have to grab auth. Okay, we have to grab use auth. So the same way we did it before, we're going to do const auth equals to use auth. Okay, just make sure it's imported. Oh, sorry. This is in the navbar. This is in the navbar. I thought it was still there. So const auth equals to use auth from utils. All right. So now we set const auth use auth. So we're gonna write some JSX and we're gonna write some ternary operations. We're gonna do some ternary operations. So in the JSX, we're gonna say in a pair of curly braces, we're gonna say auth the user. If not auth the user, if the user is not logged in, which means if the user is not logged in, render a nav link to log in, and then configure. Okay, so instead of this, we're gonna have let's get rid of this. Okay, so we're gonna have this JSX. So we're gonna say if not auth the user, so not auth dot user and okay, so now we got the nav link. So if not auth the user, render the nav link. All right, so now the login route is already configured. Now let's display the logged in username in the profile component and add the logout button. So we're gonna head over to the profile component and display the login username. So in profile, when you say we're gonna grab auth, So we're gonna say const auth equals to use auth. So we've imported auth. Please make sure this is imported. And profile, instead of saying profile, I'm gonna say welcome JavaScript and JSX auth dot user. Okay, there's no user set. So now let's add a logo button to this. So we're gonna say let's wrap this in a fragment. Finish the flow. All right. So now we're gonna say button. All right. Logout. So we're gonna have an event listener. It's on click. Oh, on click. All right. We're gonna call the function handle. It'll log out. So click, you're gonna call the function handle. Now, this is white because we've not defined the function handle logout. So let's define the function handle logout right now. So we're gonna to say const handle logout. Okay, our function. No props, and no argument, sorry. Auth dot logout. Call this. Okay, so whenever we call handle logout, then it's gonna call auth the logout.
All right. So now after logging out, we want to redirect the user to the home page using use navigate. So let's define use navigate. So I'm gonna say const navigate equals to use navigate. Call it. Cool. Make sure it's imported. All right. So then after of the logout is performed, we want to navigate the user to the root route. All right. So let's navigate to the login route. Let's try and log in. So I'm going to say Davi. I'm going to log in. Cool. And then let's go to the profile. And as you can see, it says welcome Davi. Perfect. All right. So let's click on logout. We need to protect this profile route. So we're not yet protected the profile route. So, but we no longer see Davi here. So we definitely are logged out from this. So now we have to protect the profile route. So protecting a route should be a reusable piece of code, just in case we would want to protect other routes in the future. We need to first create a reusable wrapper component that decides if the user can navigate to the route or the user has to log in first. So in our components folder, we're going to create a new component. We're going to call it require auth.js. So require auth.js6. Right, so RFC. Cool. So within this component, we're going to grab the auth context. All right, it's a good thing we made that. So const auth equals to use auth. All right, now we grab the auth context. All right, so if not auth the user, then we're going to say if not auth the user, we're going to write if statements. If not auth the user, return the navigate and navigate them to login. So if it's not the user, we're going to return navigate and then navigate them to login. So right here, we're going to write if statement. So if, right, so here is going to be if not auth the user, we want to return navigate. We're going to import this from React Router DOM. So the navigate, and then we're going to pass it a prop. And that prop is going to be the to prop. So to string slash login. Cool. So we got our require auth function. So if the user is logged in, we will return the children prop. So destructure it. So if the user is logged in, let's destructure these children props. So I'm gonna go to React require auth. We're gonna destructure it from here. So we say children. Okay. So we want to return this children. Instead of this div, we're gonna return children. So turn this to a fragment, Ctrl D. Okay, so fragment, and then let's return children. So children. Okay, so we've wrapped it in a fragment. Please make sure you're wrapping this in a fragment to avoid errors. Now in the app.js, we're going to wrap the profile component with require auth. So we're going to wrap our profile component with require auth in the app.js. So we're going to go over to our profile components. So we're going to import require auth. Make sure require auth is imported. Then we're just gonna move this and sorry. Okay. So now we wrapped our profile component with require auth. Now, when you try to navigate the profile components without being logged in, you're forced to go to login. So let's go to home, navigate to profile component, boom, that sends to our login page. When you click on the back button, all right, when you click the back button, you will see the login route again. Like when you go to the profile, we log in, Davy, let's log in. Cool. When we click on the back button, all right, we're not meant to see this. So we need to replace this. We need to throw in the replace true arguments and replace this. So we're gonna go to our login component. Okay, so here, instead of just having this, you enter comma, then throw in the replace true. So replace that boolean true. All right, so now when we log in, so Davy, log in and go back. Cool, we don't have that issue anymore. So we've added replace true. Now we don't see the login route when we click the back button anymore. The last thing we can do is redirect the user back to the protected route after the login. So, when they log in, they're usually taken to the home page. What we need to do is redirect them to the profile page instead. So to implement this, we need to work with states while navigating. And to do that, we need to use location from React Router. So implement use location within component and call the hook. So we're gonna go to require auth. Let's head over to require auth. Okay. So we're gonna set use location. So we're gonna say const location equals to use location. Cool. Now on the navigate component, we're gonna pass in the state prop. Okay, so in this navigate component, I'm gonna pass in the state prop. All right, and then state is gonna be an object. So state. All right. So now we pass in an object with a key called path, which is equals to location.path name. So let's say path location dot path name is basically the path you are in. So now we're gonna make use of the state in the login component. So at the top of the login component, make sure you've imported user location and invoke the hook. So let's go to the login component. Let's log in. So we're gonna invoke this hook. So let's say const location use location. Cool. So we've imported use location and we've invoked the hook. Next, we have to check if the path is set on the state object. I use the same, use it as the same redirect path. So let's say const redirect path is equals to location dot state. So meaning check it, and then we're gonna say dot path. Then yeah, so we set a constant called redirect path, which is equals to location state, and if it's set if it's set access the path. That's what we're saying. If it's set with this, if it's set, access the path, and if it's not set, navigate to the route. Now we just have to pass the redirect path to navigate. So we got redirect path. Let's pass this into navigate. To replace, instead of this, you know, redirect path. Cool. And we created a profile route which should be protected, and we cannot access the profile route if we're not logged in. So, and then secondly, we implemented functionality to log in or log out a user with React context and provide the context value to the entire component tree. After we implemented the login page, we used auth context to sign in and navigate function to redirect. In the profile page, we use the same auth context to display logged in user and implement the logout button. Finally, we created the require auth component that checks if the user is logged in or not. If the user is not logged in, it redirects them to the login route. If the user is logged in, we render the children pop. We wrap any component that needs to be protected with the require auth component, and we use replace to prevent the user from viewing the login page after login. And we're using use location to keep track of our redirection. So this is how we can protect routes using React Router. All right. So in the next tutorial, we're going to learn about lazy loading, so we can optimize this bulky code of ours. All right. Thank you.